All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Train Your Brain podcast. We have our beautiful guest today, Naysha Sonét, and she is a self-love coach. And we are going to be having a beautiful conversation
Wow.
with her today about all things self-love, and in particular, a story that she has for us about her journey with loving all parts of yourself, not just the good parts or the parts that you think are easy to love. So,
Yes,
welcome.
wow. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here on your podcast. And I'm
Of
just really, really
course.
grateful for this space to speak my knowledge and my wisdom and my journey.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that we got to connect and we got to
Yeah.
share some of our feelings and our stories. And I'm so excited for everyone else to see this as well, because you truly are a beautiful soul, beautiful person, and you have a wealth of
Mm,
information and wisdom. So thank you for being here.
yes, so grateful.
Yes.
So, where would you like me to start?
Let's see. A great question. So if you would like to tell us a little bit about or a lot about how you felt in the past when you were on your
Mm,
self-love journey and you were only loving the easy parts of yourself that there were to love, before you
yes,
loved all of yourself as you are as a human person.
yes, definitely. So, I feel in the beginning of my self love journey and in my self love practice, I feel like it's really normal for us to only start to love the good things, to start to say that we're proud of ourselves, that we believe in ourselves, positive affirmations and loving words. But what I noticed in my journey was that I had like almost like this two different personalities, you
Mm.
know, that I only loved myself whenever I achieved what I wanted, whenever I felt worthy, whenever I had a good day, a productive day,
Mm.
and whenever I was non productive, whenever I felt judgments, for example, towards myself, to others, whenever I was hard on myself, I became even more hard on myself for my human self, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I had this thought that what like that something was wrong with me. Whenever I have doubts, whenever I have fears, whenever I have destructive thoughts, messy thoughts, that there was something wrong with these parts of me. So I needed to somehow change, become better, develop, and fix myself. Do you see what I mean?
I do. I do.
So in the beginning of my journey, there was a lot of like in my self-development journey and in my spiritual journey, it was a lot about fixing, bettering, developing, and literally changing and transforming like the doubt into believing in myself and changing the um I would say changing the judgment I have to myself for acceptance of self. So there was a lot of like changing. And I wasn't aware of this. I was not aware of this. I thought that I did the self-love journey. I was loving myself and who I am. I was coming deeper into who I was, and I was becoming proud of myself. I achieved a lot of my goals, and I felt like I went over to gratitude and love and acceptance and all of those really good feelings in life.
Yeah.
But then I had a moment in meditation, because I meditate a lot, where I needed to really see myself. And then I went really down into the basement. And there I saw like these visuals of my human self literally just knocking at the door and screaming, "Please love me, please accept me, please let me in." So it was almost like I had become so spiritual. I had become so into like self development and so like achieving my goals and all of gratitude, like love, acceptance. I was like in all of that good momentum, you know,
Yeah.
but I had subconsciously abandoned my human self. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. You were only seeing the one part of yourself and not seeing yourself for all of you that everything
Yes.
encompasses.
And also, since I was like so focused on developing myself, like to get out of the insecurity, for example, into confidence, to get out of doubt into belief in myself, to get out of limiting thinking and destructive thoughts into more positive thoughts, and like trusting myself more, and thoughts which believed in myself and my potential, you know, like big thoughts, dreaming. So I was like in my journey focusing on changing and fixing all the time, from the part where I felt like was wrong, which I saw as doubts. There was something wrong about having doubts, there was something wrong about having fears. So we should shift them, right? We should shift our fear and we should shift our emotions.
Right.
But what I discovered was, okay, so I can tell you the story um, of the
Absolutely.
time when I went deep down into my meditation and in that basement, because I wasn't completely done with that. So
Yes, please.
when I opened the door to my human self, because she was like way down there in the dark, and she was just really banging on the door screaming, please love me, please accept me, please let me in, please let me be myself, right? And when I opened the door, it was like all of this just came to me, like really overwhelming feelings of doubt, of insecurities again, of fears. Like I couldn't see. I really couldn't see it. It was almost like I was blinded for a moment, and I went into panic because I thought that I loved myself. Do you see what I mean? Like I was
Yes.
into the self-love journey, and I thought that I loved myself, but I never knew how much I had hidden away. You know,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
much that I have shut down by, like I said, like shifting from um doubting myself to believing in myself. So the doubt, even though I thought that I was shifting it, it was still there. But it was just that I kind of focused on believing in myself, but it was still there. But I just subconsciously abandoned the doubt. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And do you think that since you were so focused on believing in yourself and that the doubt was left behind, do you think that we have to intermingle the self-belief and let the doubt in at the same time? Like what would you say is the balance between that? And I mean you might get to this
Yeah.
later, so if you want to save that for
Yes.
later, like after, then we can talk about that as
Yes, I would definitely come to this a little bit later,
sure.
because what I saw, okay, so I open the door, I let everything in again. It becomes completely dark. I don't feel any love. And I just like, tears is coming, like a lot of grief, a lot of tears. And I literally break down in the floor.
Oh,
And because for me, like, I feel like all I am is love. So when I saw all of these parts of myself, I was like, what am I if I don't love this? Do you see what I mean? So it
yeah.
was like my whole identity of my conditioned love was just ripped away. And then I started to question, like, what is love? Like, have I ever loved anyone? you know? Because what is love if you only love the good things? What is love and acceptance and gratitude and all of the things that I had practiced and believing in myself and all of that? What is all of that if I cannot bring that to the human?
Wow. Yeah.
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 So that was like the epiphany that I had. And I work a lot with angels. I feel like the angels around me, and they are just bringing me like so much unconditional love, no matter my failures, no matter my so humanness, no matter the journey that I go through. They are just always there, loving me, supporting me, and so calming voices and energy, right, towards
Right.
me. So I turn to the angels, since I'm spiritual and can connect with them in the way. And I just like, I said, I'm going to let go of all the things that I think I know about love, what love is. And then I said, I am willing to learn what unconditional love is. I'm willing to learn how to love. Please show me, I said to the angels, please show me how to love these parts of myself. How can I love doubt? How can I love fear? How can I love all of these negative thoughts, destructive thoughts? How can I love insecurity? Because in that moment, I didn't know how to love those things, because I had went on a practice to only love the good things before.
And that was hurting the deeper part of you that was locked in the basement, like you said,
Yes,
because it was being
yes,
neglected, right?
yes. And it was almost like, if you have a choice and you have fear and you have love, what will you choose? You
Love.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Normally,
what about
but
the fear? Yeah,
right. Yeah, then
right?
it gets left
That was,
behind.
yeah. And the same, like, what about doubt
Mm.
and having faith or believing in yourself? What would you choose? Like, I always choose believing in myself and having faith.
Yeah.
And then I left doubt behind. And also, for example, with judgment and acceptance, what would you choose? You choose acceptance, because
Right. It
it
feels good.
seems, yeah, it feels good. Uh, it feels more worthy of love also,
Wow,
because
that's a
we
very good
have,
point.
and that's also something that I had to like see, like, why doesn't these parts of me, which is in fear and doubt and destructive thoughts, why doesn't they feel lovable?
Mm.
It's almost like when I'm in those, it feels like I'm not getting love from others. So these parts of me may not be lovable, right?
Right.
That was like where I was at that point, like learning how to see all of the different parts of me as lovable. It's possible to love these human parts. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're so right. It is possible. That's a very good point. I really like what you said and how you put it about it feeling more worthy when you were, God bless you, when you
Yeah.
are, when you're thinking of the good parts of you, when you're embracing, oh, my
Yes.
my confidence and my faith and all of
Yeah.
the things that
Yeah.
I've worked hard for. Yeah, when you're embracing those, you're like, I feel worthy, I'm feeling great. But we all, as humans, we all have these,
Mm,
I don't want to say darker parts to us, but we all have these insecurities, these doubts. And anyone who says that
yes.
they don't is probably not telling the truth, because it's, we are not, I believe that we're divine in a lot of ways, but we are
Yes.
not at the same level as I'm sure the angels are. Like we are still, we
Yes,
have our human
definitely.
nature,
Yeah, we
so
have our human nature. So before I opened the door to my human self, I was really like in the spiritual realm. Like I meditated, I connected with the angels, I traveled in dimensions, and I just felt like I was really like always like up high in my energy, connecting with higher beings. But
beautiful.
it was almost like I abandoned my human self because I wanted to be a soul again. I wanted to be just light and love again,
Yeah.
my so like being with the angels. But then it was like, no, but I'm here as a human, and I am here to have a human experience. And that means that I need to start to accept that I have all of these human parts and stop to abandon myself and like pretend that I'm not having them. You see?
Yeah, definitely. Because it can feel so good to just mask whatever
Mm,
negative emotions we're having, or try to, in the moment, give ourselves a pep talk or uplift ourselves and
yeah.
write things that are good
Yeah.
about ourselves. And while it is important to remind ourselves, I add value to the world, I am worthy of these things,
Yes.
it's also
Definitely.
important. Yeah, it's important to remind ourselves that we're beautiful and good and kind
Yeah.
people. But at the same time, we have to feel the feelings of
Mm,
the negative feelings, which are just natural feelings, really. We have to
yeah.
embrace
Natural
those.
feelings.
Yeah, because if
Yes.
we don't, then I think we suppress them. And like you were saying, you went deep down in your meditation. So
Yeah, deep.
probably yeah. And that's so beautiful. I would like to talk more with you about that as well at some point in the conversation, about your style of meditating.
Mm,
Yeah, it just definitely the more we mask our feelings and emotions, the harder and harder it is to love
yeah,
ourselves. I think we're almost pulling ourselves away from self-love more, even though we think that what we're doing
yes,
is good, but it's kind of destructive to our like you're saying, our human self.
yes, it was. And I did this so subconsciously.
Mm.
I was not aware of this at all. So that was why when I finally opened the door and I saw it, I saw, wow, I have literally neglected myself. I have literally abandoned myself. I have literally removed all of these parts of me, saying to myself that these parts doesn't deserve love and acceptance, and that for me was what like broke me. So I literally was laying on the floor like panicking because I was so used to feeling love for self, but because I did it so subconsciously that I didn't recognize that I didn't love myself. I thought I did. Does that make sense? I thought
Yeah.
that I loved myself because I loved all of the great things, you know?
Yeah.
And I was really good at practicing loving, like whenever I developed, was proud of myself, whenever I achieved my next goal, I was good at believing in myself and having practices to believe in myself more and to see my own value. Like, and I feel like all of these parts that I just mentioned is really necessary in the beginning of a self-love practice. But now I had like practiced it for so long that it was like I discovered now a new layer, a deeper layer of self-love, of how can I bring all of these practices of love, which I have given to like the good parts of me, how can I start bringing all of that to what I necessarily don't like so much about myself, or what feels uncomfortable, the so human self. So um I feel like there's definitely like steps of self-love. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, of course. And
Yeah.
it's definitely like it's an ever going process, you know. I don't think we're
Yeah.
ever completely done learning to love ourselves and learning to love others properly. And I don't even necessarily want to use the word properly, because I think it looks different for different people.
Yeah.
Some people feel love differently, but when you really get to know how to love yourself, and I think it's important for everyone to do what you're saying, is to
Yes.
love all of the parts. And
Yeah.
can you tell us how you applied the self-love that you were giving to yourself with the good things, how you applied that to all of the other
Mm.
things?
Yes, definitely. So what I first of all, I started to be in them more. I started to like embrace them more instead of just like, I have to change this, I have to fix this, I have to better it. So I
Mm,
really went out of the mentality of fixing myself, because before, since I had the mindset that there was something wrong with me, I also felt like that linked up to the mindset of I have to fix this part of me. I have to become something better than who I am. I
mm,
have to develop this part of me into something else which is more lovable, you know? That was
right.
kind of like the mindset that I had before. But now it was like I need to let go of the fixing. I need to let go of trying to remove it, trying to fix it, trying to change it, or trying to better it. And just be present with this doubt, be present with this fear, and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with you for being human.
Mm,
And literally start to speak lovingly to this fear, to this doubt, not trying to fix it, not trying to change it, not trying to transform it into something else than its truest nature, but just trying to bring that love and meet it with love, you know,
yeah.
like you would meet a child who is in a learning process, you
Absolutely. Yeah.
know?
I think that's very important to treat yourself like a child or like your own best friend, like you were a
Yeah.
you wouldn't be cruel to these people. You wouldn't tell them that they're not good enough or that they're not doing a good job. You would,
Yes.
if there needed to be something that needed to be um like you need to take account for something, like okay, maybe I messed up here,
Yeah.
or I could have done this better, or I'll do this in the future, then there's certainly room for that. But I think what a lot of people run into, and this is certainly an issue that I've run into, is and I'm
Mm.
kind of realizing this now as we're talking and as you're telling me your story, that
Yeah.
with trying to change so many parts of myself and trying to fix parts of myself, I've stunted the process of those parts actually
Mm.
healing. And it's not even like they have to completely go away forever. It's just that I need to deal with them better, I think, or love them
Yeah.
more, I suppose, to love them more. But
Yeah.
I would just stop the process because I was resisting it and resisting it, and then it would just persist and get worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is that a similar experience you've had? Because I'm a big proponent for the only way out is through. So I definitely try
Mm.
to like feel the negative emotions, but I noticed that it depends on two things: how long it takes me to get over them. One is whether or not I'm resisting it, and the other is the severity of the emotion. So if it's something small,
Yeah.
something little, I can get over it quickly. Okay, I'll sit with the feeling and it'll pass. But if it's something that
Yeah.
requires more thought and more energy, I think it takes longer. So what would you
Yeah.
say for you? Like, do you feel like you were it was just coming back to you more because you were resisting it, or do you think there was a part of you that was feeling unsure because you were kind of trying to be super
Mm.
light and love all the time? Like, what would you say?
Yes. I feel like they really naturally came back, really like overwhelming. All of the things that I had like suppressed and
Right.
removed, all of it came back. But then I also like asked the angels to guide me
Mm,
into how can I love this. So that was like whenever there came a fear or a doubt, I always ask whenever I do not know how to love it. I always just breathe and then I open myself up and I say, please show me how can I love this part? How can I love this? So I feel what's the beginning is to just be willing,
mm,
just be
yeah.
open and see that how can I love this? And also maybe what I do also in meditation is that we all have all of these different parts of ourselves. So what I do is that I go into that specific fear or that specific doubt or that specific limiting belief, and then I ask, what do you need?
Wow. That's so
You know?
beautiful. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
powerful because we don't have all the answers right away. We kind of have to ask
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes. And ask these parts because maybe there is like an inner child within, like inside, which is really afraid of something. And do you think that the fear of that particular thing will go away if you just try to shift it into believing in yourself, or just shift it into having faith and trust and just do it anyway, you know?
Yeah. At one point, I probably would have said yes, but now I don't think so. Definitely not because it
Yes.
hasn't worked so far.
No. So actually what this fear wants is your calming voice to it. It's saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with you for having this fear. And what do you need right now? Do you need a hug? Do you need for me to reassure you that you are accepted just as you are? That say to this part of yourself that is in fear, hey, I love you and I will feel you and I will be with you and I will hold your hand. And I'm going to do this together with you, like sometimes I've had like meditations where I literally saw myself holding the hand to my fear and then walking forward, just like with a child who is afraid to maybe take the first day at school. You don't just like push them, like you have to be confident, like this is going to be okay. Just you don't just push them in there. You actually maybe sit down with them at their height level and you say, hey, it's going to be fine. We love you. You can just try. You can fail as many times as you want to. And I'm going to hold your hand. And then you maybe just, how is it called? Yeah, you're holding their hand and you're walking towards the goal, which is then the first day of school, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And the child, this is of course a place that they have never been before. So I think
Yeah.
a great example of what you're saying, because if you have, and I don't mean you in particular, but just any, anyone has tried
Yes.
to um subside a fear by replacing it with all these things. It's kind of like using Febreze or something to mask,
Yes.
instead of like
Yes.
cleaning something out. So it's kind of like what we do a lot with our own emotions and our own feelings. So
Yeah.
if you're just trying all of these methods to overcome it, or to switch it, then
Yeah.
we're going, when we are holding our fear's hand, like you said, and we are going into this unknown territory, it is a place that we've never been before. So it can
Yes.
definitely be scary, but I think definitely very worth it and very
Yeah.
rewarding.
Yes. And that is also really natural to have that fear. It's really natural to feel fear whenever you're going into something unknown, or if you're going into something that reminds you of the past, of a past event, right? Where the fear is coming from. Like that is so normal. So I think instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't have this fear, I should have, I should overcome it somehow, I should not feel this anymore. Instead of like saying all of these things to ourselves internally, what we can say like, hey, I notice that there's fear here, and you're loved, you're accepted, and right now I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to do this. But know that even if you try and you fail, I'm going to catch you and I'm going to hug you, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's okay. Instead of but I feel also when it comes to failing, one of the reasons why we are so afraid of failing is because we are so afraid of the way we're going to beat ourselves up whenever we fail.
Wow.
We're so
Oh,
afraid
wow.
of the judgments, of the hardship from our mind towards ourselves whenever we fail. That's what we're truly afraid of, is how we respond to ourselves and how we will harm ourselves whenever we fear. No, I mean whenever we fail. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Whoo, I feel like
Yeah.
my mind is blown. Oh my gosh, that is incredible. I have never heard it put that way before, and it makes so
Mm,
much sense, because if
yeah.
we were kind, and if every time we didn't do something that we had hoped we could do
Mm,
perfectly, then we were like, it's
yeah.
okay, get up next time,
Yes.
then we wouldn't
Yeah.
be afraid.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from, we do it to ourselves, and we do it to other people too. When they don't do
Yeah.
something perfectly, we say, oh, how could you not do this? And we have to remember, we're
Yeah.
all human beings, and we all have these
Yeah.
these things that we're not perfect at. Like, no one's perfect at anything. So
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. The
thank you.
insights.
Thank you. This is such an amazing conversation. I feel like I'm learning so much from you. So this is really,
Oh,
really powerful. And
yes.
so when you go into your meditations and you're going deep down, I
Mm,
know that there's been a lot of people have asked, like, "Oh, how do I meditate? What's the best way to meditate?" And I think it looks a bit different for everybody, but what um
yeah.
what, if you don't mind sharing, what would you say is your process? Like, do you sit and breathe? Do you listen to something? Or how do you go about it usually?
So I feel in meditation is mostly about the breath,
Okay.
just centering yourself, sitting, breathing, and just kind of like calming yourself, calming the body by breathing, because like we have a hectic day, maybe a lot of things is happening, maybe we feel stressed, maybe the shoulders go up.
Yeah.
And I feel meditation is to just focus on the breath, just being with yourself, just breathing. That's the only thing you need to focus on. And that's how I started, because meditation like in the beginning, it felt like it was so hard to just meditate for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I really needed like a lot of discipline to meditate for 15 minutes. But as more as I did it, like I found that calmness and I found that breath. And then when I felt like mm, good with just sitting and breathing and I could feel relaxed in that state, that's whenever I felt like I got so many visuals,
Mm.
and I got visuals of myself, and I could start to visuals, for example, in the future. I could visualize what I wanted to do, what I wanted to create for the world, for example. Or I could go into my fear. If, let's say if that was something that I was working on, that is something that I was feeling, I could like go in, breathe, and just feel the fear and go into where is this fear coming from, and like discovering, go like deep into like myself. And just like I told you about like the basement, like that was like a visual that I got, like that it was dark, and I was in a basement, and there it was like my so human version of myself literally banging on the door. So that is like a vision that I can get while I meditate. And there's also many other visions. For example, a self-love practice that I love to do is literally to just imagine when I'm there sitting, breathing, I imagine that this version of me is being hugged by all of the other versions of me.
Oh,
So there's just
wow.
like this whole like group hugging moment
Oh,
that is happening
yeah.
between all of those different versions, which has maybe been fighting or arguing, or like, this is the best way, this is the best way, and just letting like all of them talk, and also like viewing that, so I can sit with that, and I can just like, okay, yeah, this fear want to say something, this self want to say something, this confident self want to do something, you know so I could
Yes.
just see all of these different versions of myself, and then I would just like invite them to maybe hug each other, or yeah.
That's so beautiful. That's such a good idea because, yeah, we are so complex and there are so many different parts of us. There's never just
Yeah.
one version. Even day, of course, people change throughout years, but even day to
Yeah.
day, we could learn one bit of information and then now we start moving about our days a little bit differently because of what we've
Yes.
learned. So it's a beautiful practice, and I think I'll probably use that as well when I meditate
Yes.
more because it's I think very healing. And you get
Yeah.
to it's like if you have a big group of friends and there's a bunch of different personalities and some people clash and a lot of them don't agree with what to do all the time, but at the end of the day
Yes.
there's all love between them, so it's so cool.
Yeah. So that's also like, I feel what I do in my meditation practice is that I am really active in my meditation. Like I visualize and I feel, and suddenly I can feel something in my stomach, maybe some pain. And then I try to like go into that pain and research like, where is this coming from? And then
Yeah.
even more visuals comes up, maybe something from childhood or fear, like so many things can happen.
Oh,
you know
wow. Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. Because I think I definitely I feel that as well in my stomach and in my throat. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
times it's a bit of a fight or flight response. And so then you kind of have
Mm.
to see like why what is triggering these emotions or these feelings right now. And
Yes,
so when you
exactly.
get to it, yeah, it's really cool because I'll just try to be like, okay, I need to, just feel a different way or something. But it's oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
Or but it doesn't usually work when I just try to push it off. So
Yeah.
when you are meditating and then you feel something in your stomach, and you ask yourself, where is this coming from? If an answer comes up, um do you, in those moments, do you hold the fear's hand or do you try to unpack
Yeah.
it, or like what do you do after you see where it's coming from?
So there's very many different versions of love, right? In the way where we give love. So I want to ask you, like, what are the ways that you love to receive love?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Um, I love to receive love in um let's see. Well, I love when people know specific things about me, and they can
Yeah.
tell, yeah, my different kinds of emotions and moods, and when I'm likely to be thinking one way or another, just because they know me so well. I love
Yeah.
um physical actions to show that you love someone. So,
Mm.
like for example, my boyfriend will cook, or things like this, just setting up a Zoom meeting. So when my computer is
Yes.
weird, and
Yeah.
like a back rub, something like that. And I also love words of affirmation.
Yeah.
I think those are very
Yeah.
important. Yeah, definitely that.
Yeah.
So I think those are the big, and quality time, of course. I think spending a lot
Yes.
of time together is you can really like someone's someone's heart more so that way.
Yeah. So actually now you have all of the answers within you for
Yeah.
how you would like to receive love. And that means that whenever a fear come up, you said that in the way that you experience love is when you see that someone knows you. They know
Yeah.
every part of you, right? That's how you feel like, oh, this person loves me because they really, really know me. So one thing that you could say to that fear is, for example, I want to know you, and
Wow.
show yourself love in that way. Like, I want to know who you are. And that is so much love, just being curious, you know? That's in a way of love. And also, you said positive affirmations. That's also something that you can give to this fear. You could, you could speak lovingly to this fear, like, hey, it's nothing wrong with you. It's okay. You're learning.
Yeah.
You're in this process of learning, and you could say you're really good, you know.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and what was the third thing that you said? Because the cooking part is not really, yeah, quality time. Yeah, you said
Yeah.
quality time. And that's also something that you could do with the fear in meditation, for example. Just spend some quality time with this version of you that is afraid,
Oh my gosh. Oh my
and just
goodness.
being there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow. You're so smart. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
yes. And how do you think that this fear would respond to you if you came with positive affirmations, like positive words and loving words, and you spent quality time with it, and you said to it, I want to know you? How do you think, like, this fear, do you think this fear would feel love then?
I do. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it
But
could
how did,
heal.
yeah, then it could
Oh,
heal, right? Yeah. Or it will feel more relaxed. But how do you think it will respond if you come in and you think, I need to change you, I need to fix you, I need
yeah.
to remove you? You know, it,
Not
you
well.
don't feel so lovable. Yeah, you don't feel well, right? Like if someone came to me with an energy that I needed to be removed, that I needed to be changed, that I needed to be better, or that I needed to be fixed, I wouldn't really feel so loved,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
so this is kind of like what I did for a very long time to this human version of myself that I felt changing, fixing, bettering, removing, transforming into something else than what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And I just discovered that that's not how love operates. That's not a loving act to do to these parts of ourselves, really.
No, not at all. And I think that's something that is preached a lot. And you see it, like I'll see it on Instagram a lot. People will be
Mm,
posting like, oh, like here's how you can heal and change and grow. And in a lot of ways, there are certain things that are very helpful, but it's
yes.
only for there's some things that are kind of short term solutions, like putting a
Mm,
band-aid over an open wound, like something that's,
yes, yes.
yeah, like it's good to, it's good to clean your room and have a nice space for yourself, and it's good to do self-care and all these things, but you also have to get deep down. It's good to do all those things,
Mm,
but you have to as well add it to getting
yeah.
deep into yourself and seeing like what's really going on here, and where are these feelings coming from in the first place that I'm trying to mask
Yes,
right now.
definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see this a lot in the spiritual community and also in the self-development community. And that was really where I got this from, because I was the same, you know, in the beginning. And I really thought that I was loving to myself. I really thought that um I was like developing myself and growing in a good way. But now I saw that yes, I was developing, I was growing, I was learning new abilities, and I was shifting and transforming. But I saw that the journey of how I was doing it wasn't so loving to my human parts.
Mm.
And that there is, and now I'm always saying like, yes, I can grow and I can transform and I can shift, but it needs to be true love. I cannot say to myself like these things needs to be removed or be better or change. I cannot say that stuff anymore. Like I cannot say even I need to overcome this fear. That's not anything that I can say because I like anymore, because it's nothing to overcome, you know?
Yeah, nothing to overcome, just something to know that it's there and be kind
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, and like all
Yeah,
the
be
things you were
kind to
saying,
it.
hold its hands
Mm.
and hopefully let it relax. And when do you think that when the fear is relaxed, do you think there's a point that it can go away completely after just being kind to it and over just showing yourself that it's okay, or do you think that fears kind of stay with us and then
Mm.
we just we just learn to evolve with them?
Definitely the second one. What I have experienced in my life is that the fears, the insecurities, the destructive thoughts, the doubts, they're always going to be there in some way or shape or form because we are in a human experience. But now it's just that I respond to them in a more loving way. And that also means that it's more peaceful within me because I'm no longer fighting myself so much. I'm no longer like trying to shift it, trying to transform it, trying to change it or better it. Like before, I would see it as fighting myself,
Yeah.
like the way I used to be towards myself. But I didn't see it at that time because I thought that that was what was right and that was how it was supposed to. That was what I was supposed to do. But now I just see that there is so much more peace in my
Mm.
being because it's like all of these different parts of me, these so beautifully human parts, is allowed to be there. So there's almost like a freedom where no longer need to fight. So even though I can still feel fear, I can still feel doubt, but whenever they occur, I let them and then I ask them many questions because in the way that I feel loved and I receive love is to be listened to, right? So I feel like this fear is receiving tons of love from just that I listen to it and that I just stay present with it and say like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you and let's move forward together. I'm not saying I move forward without you, you know. I'm
Right.
saying let's move forward together because I saw also how every part of the process is so valuable that I actually need fear. I need doubts. I need destructive thoughts. I need all of these things
Hmm.
because then I can learn even more about them and then I can share the wisdom that they are carrying.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So many gems in this conversation, really. It's really true. And when it's
Mm,
like, when you're saying, I need them, I can learn from them, it's incredible because so many things that I think we're conditioned to think are to
mm,
negate the fear and to
yeah.
push it away and try to, just everything we've been talking about, try to not
Mm,
um just ignore it and fill yourself with other things instead. But
Yes, yes.
yeah, it's definitely, we can learn from so much in our lives, but it's kind of like if there's a hardship that goes on and people say,
Mm,
oh, I was out, I was homeless for this amount of time, and I had no money.
mm,
This was like the hardest part of my life, but through that and because of that, I've grown so much and I've learned so much and
yes,
gained so much. So it's kind of like, why don't we just
exactly.
welcome, yeah, why don't we welcome these things into us that are not necessarily the things that always feel good, not necessarily the things that are going to be fun,
Mm,
but they'll have
yeah,
extreme benefits and beautiful rewards in our life.
yes. Wow. I
Thank
really, really feel that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true,
Yeah,
because there's definitely been times, like, I think there's always things that you can learn from the good and the bad in life. And I don't even like to say bad, because everything has its place and everything has its purpose.
yes,
And we certainly
yes,
need contrast, because if we were just
yeah.
like, life is a roller coaster. If we were just
Yeah,
good,
it is. It
yeah,
is.
it is.
And
It's so
just imagine how great life can be if you accept the roller coaster
mm,
instead of fighting it. Because
yeah.
that's what I did a lot before. Like, I felt great about myself. I loved myself when I had a good, productive day and I achieved my goals. But whenever I failed and whenever I had a non productive day, or whenever I mm, did something that I didn't see as right, maybe, the right way to be, I would be hard on myself. And that is like, wow. Like that is a roller coaster. And before, like, my life was like that. I always like shifted depending on what I saw as lovable and what I saw as not lovable.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So loving the human is really to turn the human into being lovable. Yeah.
Not just the higher versions of ourselves, not just the
Yeah.
elevated things that we try to work towards. All of it, everything that it
Yes.
encompasses.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's
Mm.
so cool to talk about this so openly, because if like, if we're hard on ourselves every time, like you were just saying, if it flip flops between a good day and a bad day, based on what kind of a job you did that day at
Yeah.
doing whatever, then it's just yeah, we're just gonna set ourselves up for bad feelings a lot more than is necessary, and
Yes,
adding to it, because we
definitely.
can, if we can kind of just like embrace when we're sad and upset. Like, there's certainly been times that I've had breakthrough moments where I would be super down
Mm.
and crying, but even in the moment I would be like, all right, this is
Yes.
this is okay, like, it's whatever, it's fine. So,
Yeah.
and it's going to be, it's going to be a different day tomorrow, and I won't always have this pain
Mm.
with me. So I think getting to the root of the pain is extremely important. Just like amplifying and getting
Yeah.
to, enjoy the ups in our lives, we have to enjoy the downs as well.
Yes. Really, really. And I also, in a meditation, I had this visual of um myself like 10 years from now, because I have this great vision in my life, this great dream of standing in a stage and literally spread my message to like thousands of people in the crowd, right?
Wow.
And and when I like looked up to her and I was like, wow, she is super confident, and I have never like hold an event before yet. I have had like one-on-one clients, but I haven't like stand in front of an audience and hold a speech or giving my message in that way. So I was looking up to her and I was like, wow, this is who I'm going to become. And I know this really deep in my being that I will experience that like 10 years from now or so. And it was so beautiful because she turned to me in the audience, because I saw like my present self now being in the audience, looking at my 10 years from now self.
Wow.
And she talked to me and she said, Naisha, you're on the right path. And you know what? I needed every fear. I needed every doubt. I needed every limiting belief. I needed all of the human experience to have the wisdom that I have to share to thousands of people. So
Oh,
she literally told me like, embrace the journey, because I need every drop of the journey. I don't
yeah.
just need the good things. I don't just need the great days. I need the really bad, terrible, crying, breaking down days, because those are the days where I have the most breakthroughs,
Mm,
because
yeah.
right after a breakdown comes a breakthrough.
Yes. Yes, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful saying. It's so true because I think even what you were saying, how you can learn from the fears, I think in a breakdown, all of the fears come rushing in and all of the doubt and all of the bad things.
Yeah.
And then you just learn so much in all that
Yes.
one shot, you know?
Right. And I would never had the same wisdom that I have today and everything that we have spoken about today if I didn't open up and
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
just felt like in complete darkness, completely blinded. I was crying in panic because I couldn't see how to love it. Like my whole identity was just like ripped off, you know?
Yeah.
And I started to question everything, and I started to question what love was. Have I ever loved before? I thought I loved, but is it really love?
Yeah.
I had all of these different processes and breakdowns, and I would never have the wisdom that I have today if I didn't experience that breakdown before.
Wow. And that's
So
that's
I'm so grateful for that moment. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And this is, have you always been on some kind of self-love journey or something that what we're talking about now, or do you think that this is a relatively new development? I mean, everyone tries to better themselves, but do you think that you've been on this kind of like mission for a long time?
Um yes and no. I feel like our whole life is our mission.
Yeah.
Every
True.
experience is a part of the mission that we're going to do, and every experience that we have is not like a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. So I kind of feel like I have been on like my mission my whole life, but I have only been like on the self-love journey and spiritual path for 3 years, because that was like when I woke up and when I went into spirit, like development, self-development and growth. And I was being so much more aware of my thoughts and my feelings. I started to question everything. So it happened like 3 years ago that like my eyes just like completely opened to everything that was within me, what I was feeling, what I was going through. And it became so much more real. Um, yeah, and I started to practice and meditate much more than what I had ever done before. Yeah.
And do you meditate ever? Thank you
And
for
then I think,
sorry, go ahead.
yes, continue, please.
Oh, no, no, I was just saying,
Eh,
do you meditate every day?
no, I wouldn't say that I meditate every day, because I'm really like free flowing. I
Yeah.
like to do whatever feels natural in the moment and whatever I feel like I want to do. And but I definitely feel very, very great every time that I meditate. And I do meditate like several times of weeks. Now I mean several times of the week. But it's not like I have to meditate. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like I need to do this every day, and if I don't
Right.
do it, I become hard on myself or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just like I do it whenever I want to, because it's really peaceful to just sit down and breathe and center into myself. Um, but it goes like in like ups and downs. Sometimes I do it a lot. Sometimes I have some breaks. Yeah,
Yeah, it goes in waves. Yeah, I like that because I used to write it in my, in my planner every day, like meditate for at least 30 minutes. And then it started to feel like a chore instead of like what it should be, which is, something that's enhancing and can tap you more into
yeah,
yourself. But it definitely took on a life of something that I didn't want it to when I started to do like writing it down and trying to make it something strict, that I had to stick to like
Yeah.
strictly.
Yes, definitely. I also feel that whenever I need to really like strict myself, like I have to do this, this needs to be in just this way, this perfect way, then I feel like it's never completely working for me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
just
you
like
gotta
you
just
said.
let it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And so now, so when you have, since you've come to these beautiful realizations and you've loved the human part of yourself, do you think that you
Yeah.
feel, how do you feel now every day, in compared to in comparison to what you used to feel before this?
I definitely feel in much more love
Mm.
than before, even though I thought that I was in a lot of love before. I really I was in conditioned love, but now I feel like I move more into unconditional love, and I feel like I am in much more peace within, like so much more peace, because there's no need to fight anymore. There's no need to change or better or fix anymore. It's just to be with it. And then all of these other parts of me, like the soul human parts, that like they get the love that they need, so they also becomes more peaceful, more relaxed. But before, when they didn't get this love, like they would scream and they would be like massive, because they
Yeah.
wanted that love and attention. But now when they get that attention and that love, it's almost like they also become calmer, and because of that, who I am becomes calmer and more
Oh, wow.
peaceful. And yeah.
Thank you.
And yes, and I also definitely have days when new parts of myself comes up where I haven't practiced as much love for them before. And sometimes I'm like, how, yeah, I always ask, how can I love this? That's like my main question. How can I love this part of me? Because then I just open myself up to being willing to love whenever I don't know how to love. Yeah.
And you can ask, yeah, you ask yourself for the answers, or you ask the angels for the answers. And I think it's a
Mm.
very powerful thing. Like, I was really struggling with one thing, and I just gave it to God. I was like, I
Yes.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
freeing and it's so healing, because it's, I had thought in the past, like, oh, I'm being selfish if I just ask God for help all the time, or
Mm.
if I can't figure it out myself, then I don't deserve to have
Yeah.
the answer. And that's not the case at all. Like, we all need help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we do. Definitely. So ask for help and ask for that guidance
yeah.
also.
Yeah, the
It's
divine
okay.
guidance. Yeah, it is okay. And then it'll connect you more with yourself too, because we can ask other
Mm.
people what their thoughts on something personal, but ultimately, like, it's between us and I think the divinity that lives within us, and otherwise. So I think
Yeah.
it's really powerful to just surrender sometimes and let yourself receive the help.
Mm. Yes. And so loving towards yourself as well,
Yeah.
to allow yourself to receive that
Yes.
help and that
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. It's definitely, some people like to do everything themselves, and it is good to be self-sufficient. But we need to realize that, ultimately we can, it's a powerful thing to
Yes.
ask for help.
Yeah. And maybe that's also like what these different parts of you ask from you. Do you
Mm,
see what I mean? That's
yeah.
how they wanted love also. So like imagine that you're just like talking to your doubts or your fear, and you're saying, how can I love you? And they say, please ask for some help.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the way they want to receive love. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, it's like, all right, go get help, because clearly we're
Yes.
not doing it
Yes. Amazing.
here.
Wow.
Wow. Well, you are so kind and you are so compassionate, and I feel like I can feel your healing energy and just your love coming from the screen. And you're all the way in Norway and I'm in the US, but we're
Yeah.
still, I don't know, it's just so cool that we're still able to have this conversation.
Yes, it's really nice. And you know what I have discovered is that love heals everything. So
Mm,
you just need to be in that presence of love,